Understand your role, and this is the Care Certificate Standard 1. So what do you know now? So we'll just have a quick have a look at the activities. So activity 1.1a, using your job description to allow you to fill in the workbox below, describe your main duties and responsibilities. So it's really, really important that you know what your duties and responsibilities are, because you need to know where your job starts, where somebody else's begins, and where your job ends then. So that you don't take on too much and that things aren't missed. So it's really, really important that you know what the boundaries of your jobs and responsibilities are. You can also write some notes here, and as the care certificate is a live document, you can pop a copy of your job description in it as well. But you do need to write some information and show your understanding of what it is. Activity 1.1b. So looking at the care certificate and the code of conduct for healthcare support workers and adult social care workers in England. So this is having a look at completing this diagram and listing in here the standards that we're thinking about that may be in the care certificate and also the code of conduct. So we've got here the code of conduct. So quick Google, have a look on the Skills for Care website. And the things that is interesting in here, so we've got 7 there. So we've got 1, be accountable, making sure you can answer for your actions and omissions. And what that means is that you're responsible for what you do and also what you don't do. So if it is that it's not within our skill set and we're not the person to carry out that job, then we do need to think, how can I get support for that person? So that we have to pass on that information to somebody. So we can't just get away with saying it wasn't my job or I didn't know how to do it. We need to pass on that information to somebody who can do it. Number 2, promote and uphold the privacy, dignity, rights, health and well-being of people who use health and care services and their carers at all times. Work in collaboration with colleagues to ensure the delivery of high quality and safe, compassionate healthcare and support. So working in collaboration, so we're working with each other there as a team, and also being compassionate so that we're able to put ourselves in that person's shoes and think, you know, understand their difficulties, understand their strengths, and build a relationship in that way. People aren't always going to do things the way that we do them, and it won't always make sense to us, but we need to think about putting ourselves in their shoes and how would we feel. Number 4, communication in an open and effective way to promote health and safety and well-being of people who use the health and care services and their carers. So I mentioned before about if we make an error, we need to have that open and transparent communication. We can't just hide things. Respect a person's right to confidentiality. So although this might be difficult for you, it might be that, for example, they've got an illness and they don't wish to discuss it with their family for whatever reasons, and you might do things differently and that's fine, but for this person, you know, in particular, for example, they don't want to let their family know that, you know, their illness has come back or that it's not going to go away. So you need to respect that person's right to confidentiality. If you have got concerns around that, if you think that the person's at risk, then, you know, talk to your manager about it and then go from there. You can't just go in and let the family know against that person's wishes. Number 6, strive to improve the quality of healthcare support through continuing professional development. So that's what you're doing. So your job as a care worker, support worker, PA, the training doesn't just stop with the induction. It is an ongoing process, and you've got a responsibility to make sure that you want to do things the right way. And if somebody was looking after your loved ones, you'd want to have that care person doing things the right way and having their training as well. Uphold and promote equality, diversity and inclusion. So what we're looking at here is that we're looking and accepting other ways of life, and that we're considering that people do things differently, people might look differently, act differently, and we will treat them all the same but different. So we might give everybody medication, but we would do it in a slightly different way for each individual. We would follow our processes and procedures, but it might be that people like different things and they like it in different parts of the houses or different times of the day or different drinks and things. And also have a look at the care certificate and the 15 standards there when you're writing your list. So activity 1.1d, So what we're looking at is being self-aware. It's important for care workers. Think about previous experience, attitudes and beliefs that you have, and under the points below explain how they might have affected the way you work. So it's really, really important. We spend so much time looking after other people that we do need to look after ourselves. So how might a positive experience affect you in the workplace? Will it make you feel good? Will it increase your confidence and your self-esteem? Will it make you want to do it again? Will it make you want to share that experience with colleagues and tell people what you've learned from that? Will it be a bad experience and maybe receiving positive feedback made you feel a little bit uncomfortable? And sometimes it can. Sometimes it's difficult to hear good things about ourselves. We're our biggest critic. So just have a think there about what a positive experience and how it might affect the way that you work. A negative experience and the steps that were taken to ensure that it didn't affect your work. So this might be, you might have things going on at home. You know, how can you protect yourself, you know, from kind of when you put on your uniform, you don't let that impact your work. Have you got a good support team? So can you speak to your manager about this? What about if somebody at work maybe said something that you didn't like, whether that be a patient or a colleague? How would you protect yourself, and what steps would you take? Your positive attitude, so how does that affect you in your workplace? And also your personal beliefs, how might that affect you? One example, tattoos. So some people don't like tattoos, some people love tattoos, and I think for me that if as a care worker you have got tattoos, that's absolutely fine, but we do need to consider that the people that we're supporting, they might not have the same value of a tattoo as you do, and I think if you're in their home, we need to kind of respect them, and it might be that we cover it up, or we introduce it slowly to that person, or we have a conversation about what they mean to you, and that's building up trust there. So that for me is quite an easy example where that conversation does come up a lot within training. Activity 1.2a, and also just going back to tattoos. So how much would it affect you if you just covered up for that, attending that person's call, and how much would it affect that person if you were showing it and it was affecting them negatively? So just have a think, put yourself in their shoes, and there'll be some things that you don't like as well, that might not make sense to you. Activity 1.2. Familiarize yourself with your employment rights and responsibilities under each of the headings below. Describe your rights and responsibilities as a worker. So with these headlines here, so what rights do you have to health and safety? So hopefully you'll be working in a safe environment. Confidentiality, do you have any rights? We've spoke about your patient rights and a need to know basis, but do you have any rights to confidentiality? Working time, again, do you have any rights, or are we expecting you to work 8 days a week? And pay and wages, do we get fair pay? Do we get equal pay? You know, are your male or female counterparts, are they paid the same as you for doing the same job? May your pay increase if you've got more experience, or if you've got more training? Do you all get paid on the same time? So what might affect your wages, and what rights have you got as a worker? If you're unsure, speak to your manager about it. Activity 1.2b, so speak to your employer to find out the aims, objectives and values of the organisation that you work in, and use the information below. So what you want to do is find out what is the big aim of your company, why did they start, what do they want to achieve? The objections, how are they going to get to that stage? How are they going to meet that aim of the organisation? And the values, so what do they believe in, and how might that impact the way you work? If they haven't got a mission statement, or that's not in the introduction information, then have a word with your manager and find out where that information is, and it might just be a verbal conversation they have. So 1.2c, so it's essential to work in ways that are agreed with your employer. Give an example of an agreed way in your workplace and explain why it's important. So ones here might be, for example, dress code. So why is it important that there's a dress code in place, and you don't necessarily have to wear a uniform, but you might have to follow certain guidelines. So maybe no high heels or no long or false nails and things like that. Why is that important? And think of people that it might affect. So it might affect you, it might affect your manager, it might affect the reputation of the business, it might affect the patient, it might affect the families. High heels moving and handling, it might affect your ability to work. So why is it important to work within agreed ways of working? Okay, so 1.2 E and F. So for each of the statements below, decide whether each should be reported as a concern. Tick yes or no. So I'm not going to go through the answers, but I'll read them out. So the health and safety of staff is in danger. Would you report yes or no? Individuals are treated with dignity and respect. Would you report yes or no? The environment is being damaged by work activity. Would you report yes or no? Wrongdoing is being covered up. Would you report yes or no? The individual's care is inadequate, but they cannot or will not complain. Would you report yes or no? Care plans are reassessed and updated regularly. Would you report yes or no? Your manager is involved in the abuse of individuals. Would you report yes or no? So activity 1.2 E and F. So thinking about the statements in this section here, that you need to be reported, explain how you'd raise concerns or whistleblow. So based on the ones here that you said, yeah, I'm going to report those, that's not right, how would you go about that? Who would you contact? Would it be verbal? Would it be over the phone? Would it be email? Would it be within your company? Would it be outside your company? How would you go about reporting those concerns? Activity 1.3a. So think about your responsibilities to individuals you support. Describe 4 of those responsibilities to those individuals. So what are you responsible for? So have a think about your job description. And what you want to do is have an example. So for example, you'll provide assessment for losing weight. So you'll provide fluids and nutrition, and you'll monitor those and just keep a check on them. So so that might be responsibility, ensuring the person eats and drinks or is supported to eat and drink, providing the food, doing the shopping. I don't know, you might have a shopping list, or doing a stock check in the cupboards and things, or checking the fridge and that things are in date. So describe. So to describe means to create a picture with words, but not simply writing a list of bullet points. So if it was, I didn't know you and I want to know what your responsibility is, I should be able to get that information from reading this. So pick 4. Activity 1.3b. So in the boxes below, explain how a working relationship is different from a personal relationship. Use examples from your service to help you explain your points. So again, with an explanation, we're not just looking for bullet points, we're looking for more information to help demonstrate that you've got an understanding. So what is a working relationship? What is a personal relationship? And what examples may they have? So think about your people at work that you maybe only talk to at work and only have a relationship with work, and think about people at home that you only have a relationship there. Sometimes it might cross over, so sometimes you might have work with your sister and you might have a working relationship where you are very different to how you are at home. So sometimes it can cross over. But just think about the separation between work and personal relationships. Why is it important? Is it important that we have those differences? Activity 1.3c. So there are 4 main working relationships in health and social care. State the 4 main working relationships and provide a description for each, including who they are most likely to be in your own workplace. So have a think here about what working relationships in health and social care there might be, and within your workplace. So activity 1.4a and b. So as a worker in care and social care, health and social care, it's essential to be an effective and good team member and work in a partnership. Explain why it is important to work in a partnership with others, in a partnership with key people, so advocates, people who work independently on behalf of the patient, and others who are significant to the individual, such as their carer, family members or friends. So why is it important? What issues may cause if you don't work in partnership? So have a think about maybe examples that you know of personally, that you've been through at work, or maybe examples that you've heard about and can discuss. And that's it for standard 1.